Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Sessions with Kat. We're at the end of another week. Thank God. It's been a long one. So some updates. I do have a current sale going on. This is gonna last through September 5th. Right? 15-minute and 30-minute readings, discounted price, and some chakra cleanses at discounted prices. So, you'd like to take advantage of this sale, just shoot me an email. Or if you follow me on Instagram, you can shoot me a DM and I'll get an invoice over to you. So, that's number one. Number two, the latest podcast is out. So, go listen. Make sure you follow. Make sure you share it with people because you love me and that would that would mean a lot. um, but no, in all seriousness, just go check it out. Let me see. I think that's it as far as updates go. Uh, it's been quite the week. It's been quite the week. If you've been paying attention to podcasts and um, I don't know if I put it in last week's video, but if you've been paying attention, then you know my mother passed away. And so just dealing with getting her, putting her to rest and dealing with family. And we're just going to leave it at that so that I'm being nice about it. But let's get into it. We got another deck walkthrough and chit chat and take notes. Grab your pen, grab your notebook, grab something to drink because we all know I have no idea how long I'm gonna be fucking talking. Um, yeah, let's do this. So it is a tarot deck this week. Um, and I realized before I show you which deck it's gonna be, I realized that I show a lot of Oracle on here, and I do that because for those who are looking to um, start in any divination, Oracle is the easiest to read. Okay. And tarot, for some, it's easy, for others, it's not. So I try to steer away from it. But at the same time, like, I don't want to discount those of you who actually want to learn tarot and see, all the different types of tarot decks that are out there. So I will be showing more tarot as we go along. In the coming weeks, you're going to see a video about reading charms and or bones. I mix the two together. Okay. But you're going to see a video about that. I'm going to kind of help you guys learn that, like, because that might be easier for some of you as well. I'm also going to show a video, well, upload a video, record a video, whatever, on like the differences between purchasing a deck um, from an indie artist, let me say it that way, versus somewhere cheap like Wish or Temu, right? However you fucking pronounce that shit. I'm gonna show you some of those differences as well. I'm just waiting for what is it? Because I'm waiting for the original to come. Someone gifted me a dupe, a fake, right? And I ordered the original. So I'm just waiting for the original to come so I can do that video for you guys. So that's what's coming, amongst other shit, right? But let's get into it. So, what I'm going to show you today is one of my favorite decks. I absolutely love it. I don't use it enough on others I will tend to use this on myself before I take it to like an event or something. But I think it could be used to read other people as well. However, I like it more for me. So I do have some decks that are more personal, and this is one of those. So hopefully you guys like it. Oh, an update. So I have some things in the works as far as creating my own deck. Um, I will try to keep you guys as posted as I can. I'm trying to go the route of not using Kickstarter or something like a crowdfunding. I want to be able to have the decks already, and then you could just purchase them directly from me, and then I can ship them. Um, that way you're not waiting fucking forever for a deck, because I hate that shit. With a passion. I hate waiting. Like if I bought something, if I like I need it the next day. Okay, but that's neither here nor there. But I am working on a couple things. So, and then I'm gonna be also creating some kind of one-off decks, and I'm just gonna let them be purchased, right? They're gonna be, intuitive messages on them based on the image or the theme of the deck, and I think they'll be awesome. So that's that. But let's get into it. So the deck we're going to be looking at, and this box is fucking huge, yo. Like, let me zoom out so you guys can fucking see it. So and I had to put the black cloth down because these cards are very colorful. But this is the box, right? I've already taken the cards out of it. It's got the two little trays to split up your cards, and then that's the back, right? Um, the book is just as fucking massive. It's like literally the same fucking size as the box. Um, it is not in color inside here. So if you are a book person and this deck interests you, just know that it's not in color inside of here. So you're really gonna have to pay attention to to what cards are on. But it's meaty. Let me tell you that is the sucker's fucking meaty, which is nice. It's nice when you're kind of stuck on a card and you need some type of guidance and you want to see what the artist came up with, or whoever wrote the like. Because you have an artist and then you have the one that's you know giving you the message about the cards. So I guess both, right? I would assume it's both, but yeah. So it's nice. Do I use it? No. You guys already know. It takes a lot for me to pick up the book and use it. It has to either one be a whole new system that I'm learning, or two, I'm just really fucking stuck on the card. Like I'm not picking up anything from the card, but I know that that card has something to tell me. So that is the only time I'm gonna reach for that book. For the most part, you won't catch me touching the book. Um, yeah, and that sucker's meaty. So like I'm really have no interest in touching that book. Just, not saying reading the book is bad. It's just sometimes it's doing too much. I'll end up putting the cards away before I start looking at a book, because in my mind I'm like, if it's meant for me to receive a message, it would tell me. I either have to move on to the next card, or I done picked up the wrong deck and spirit's like, no, it's not this deck. Go choose another one. So I usually roll with whatever's coming to me. So let's chit chat. Let's go. Let's run this. And this is the tarot of the four elements. So the backs are the four elements. I get that it's on the four elements. However, this would be your fifth element, your major arcana. So I wish that was kind of tied into the title, um, if not the backing, but that's neither here nor there, right? So What are we going to chat about today? That's a really great question, class. I want to, how can I say this? How do I say it honestly and purely and hmm, not bite my tongue or sugarcoat this shit because I'm not real good at that. I want to talk about taking up space, not shrinking yourself, right? Being as loud as the colors on these fucking cards, right? And I'm gonna do the zooms in just a little bit more, just so you guys can see it. Hopefully, I didn't cut off the words. Um, I want to talk about that, and here's why. Over the past week, since my mother passed, and I'm giving you real life examples here, so like, don't think I'm just like making shit up for y'all to be like, oh, you didn't know. I'm giving you straight no chaser here. Over the past week, dealing with my mother's death, dealing with her family, and I'm saying it that way because the conclusion I came to, okay, um, and I'll get to that. Dealing with her family, which includes my siblings. All right, I I shrunk myself when it came to voicing my opinion, if not facts, right? Like just stating a fact and no one agreeing with it because I could pick up the guilt from their end. Um, so I just stopped talking. I stopped speaking. And in that first round of stating literally a fact because it came to fruition, um, half my siblings stopped speaking to me, half my living siblings of my mother's children. Okay. There are only four of us living right now, three girls and a boy. Okay. And half of them stopped speaking to me. Now, do I care? You all know the answer to that question. I don't. I don't. I don't care about them not speaking to me. I care about whether or not I stood firm in what I knew, right? However, they've been having these like fucking meetings, right? Shit that could be an email, in my opinion, because there's no coffee and I'm suffering through it, essentially. Um, I don't say anything. I shrunk myself right up. And I know it's because if I say something, there's going to be like a war. And I don't think that I want to leave the space that way, right? But I shrunk myself so much so that I didn't have any space. That I didn't don't I currently don't feel comfortable around them. Um and I'm processing I've processed, let me say it that way, how it felt shrinking myself. Now is this the first time I've ever shrunk myself? No. Is this the last time? Probably fucking not. I'm human, right? But I'm learning that it's okay, especially in situations when it comes to family. And so that's where I'm speaking from. That's the perspective I'm speaking from. When it comes to family, it is okay to speak whatever truth you have. You don't have to tone it down, right? It is what it is. And I had to really look at why I did that, why I shrunk myself, why I decided to let them take up my space for me, right? And I did it because I was like, I really am not in the mood to cause any wars or start any fights, even though I'm pretty fucking good at it, right? Like if I have to. Um, I just wasn't in the mood. I didn't have the strength to do it. And I also did not want to do it. I didn't want that to be just something that I'm known for, right? And I perceived it the wrong way, because it's not that I'm known for starting fights. That's how they perceive me. How I see it is I'm stating the truth, and I'm going to defend that truth until death, until you see it, until it balances itself out, right? Considering this is the temperance card, I'm going to see it all the way through, right? And a lot of my family would see that as me being confrontational, or uh, just flat out being a bitch. And I don't. I don't see it that way. However, I also understand how my mother's family, you know, how their dynamic is. And half of my siblings, meaning the two girls, so my two sisters, um, whether they recognize it or not, I think I've just noticed it over the past years and change. They're just like my mother, and they're just like that side of the family. And as much as they want to get away from that, they can't. And I decided to back down, not because I was fearful. It's just that I was trying to be respectful. I did not want um, my mother's spirit coming to haunt me, because I'm over here like, no, we're going to do it this way, and this is what she wanted, blah, 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 blah. Not, mm-mm. And I also didn't want to take control of something that was out of my control, right? Um, what was to be done with her body ultimately was the decision of her husband, right? And I kept reiterating that, and I noticed that they would get a lot more upset at me, which I don't care, because I kept undermining their desire to control a situation based off of guilt. Okay. And nobody likes to be called out on their bullshit. And that includes me. But for me, taking up space in a very peaceful way was more important than taking up space in a conflicting, chaotic way, if that makes sense. Like, I was not trying to fight. And while this might not be the best example, and sorry, I did not mean to take the way too quick. I absolutely love this card. All these fucking colors. Oh my God, I love this card. I hate that it got bent. I was shuffling and it fucking bent, but like it's sturdy and I love it. Um, I got mad at myself because I wasn't taking up space the way I wanted to. And while when asked, I would voice my opinion. Um, and then if I was irritated enough, I would voice my opinion. I'm now seen as confrontational. So now no one will speak to me other than outside of my brother, right? And I really am okay with that, to be honest, because I knew, if you paid attention to the podcast, I knew that I wasn't really going to be speaking to much of the family on my mom's side. That included siblings. I already understood that. However, I think what hurts me the most is I was taking up space in the wrong way. And that's what I want to talk about. And I find myself doing this when talking to people at work, talking to friends, um, even the family that I do speak with. I found myself taking up space, one, in the wrong moments, two, I was taking up too much space, uh, and three is like I wasn't present, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So I want to talk about that because a lot of times we feel small, or like it's going to be one extreme or the other. We feel like we're not taking up enough space, or we're shrinking ourselves. So we're making ourselves small so that we don't feel selfish or feel like we're um, trying to overstep or overpower someone. And I realized during this whole process, I haven't fully been present with myself, right? I haven't been tuning in to how I feel and grounding and centering myself. And it's quite literally pushed me over the edge. It's made me snappy. It's made me pissed off. It's made me judgmental. You know, all of the above. I've been a complete bitch in some cases. But I'm realizing that the same amount of patience that I exercise with others, I have to exercise that with myself, especially when it comes to taking up space. I am so used to not having space that I'm now the extreme opposite, which is taking up too much space. And I'm learning to come back into the middle so that I'm not overpowering another one's space. I'm taking up just the right amount for Catrice, if that makes sense. And that's a part of practicing mindfulness. That's a part of walking this way, right? Walking home barefoot, coming home to yourself is learning, you know, when you're experiencing extremes of something. And I find myself over talking people. I find myself um, pushing people out of the space so that I can take up all of it, right? Because I'm so used to not having space. And it's hard. It's hard to pull yourself back to the middle. It's hard to recognize when you're so knee deep in it, if that makes sense. However, I don't want to be just this fire going wild, right? I want people to have their platform. I want people to have uh, their space and their opportunity to shine. And I realized that I was still in light from others. And over, you know, yesterday, I shouldn't say over the past weekend, we're still in the weekend. Yesterday at um, the event that I was at, even though it ended early, I did one reading. One. It was the heat index was 105, which is bullshit, right? And I was getting mad because I was like, what the fuck? And this person wanted a reading. This is their very first reading. And I'm over here like, honey, I'm over here roasting. Mother Nature wants dark meat. And apparently she chose me. You want me to read you? Like, and I thought to myself, I said, girl, get out of your own way. You know, like, stop doing that. This woman wants to read. And all I heard Spirit say was, listen, give her space. Give her space to talk. She doesn't have it right now. And I said, okay. And I can't tell you how much of me that took to give that to her. Because the inner teenager adult in me is like, no, it's my turn. And I was just like, girl, shut up. This woman needs to speak. This woman needs to have space. And I'm so glad that I was able to shut the fuck up and listen, because this woman really needed space. She needed to tell, there was something she needed to tell me that I needed to hear. But how can I hear that if I'm taking up too much space? If I'm taking up her space, right? If I'm pushing her out the way, causing her to shut up and shut down, right? How am I going to hear the message that's meant for me? Right? So, all that to say, all that to say, when taking up space, because you are allowed to take up space, be mindful of when you're pushing someone else out of their own space. Because sometimes we do that simply because we want attention, simply because we want someone to pay attention to us and it only be us, right? Be mindful of that. Also, be mindful of when someone's trying to overpower your space, because that's not fair to you, right? It's a part of setting boundaries and um, standing firm in them, right? And at the same time being mindful of when you need to just shut up and kind of be real centered, right? Because you might miss a message, and I almost missed something that I needed to hear, right? Almost missed the message for me because I was too busy taking up all the space, right? I almost missed that. So I was grateful that Spirit spoke loud enough that I knew to shut the fuck up. And I learned a lot in it. And I was just like, you know what? I can still speak my truth, but not overpower someone else. And that is something that I'm learning, right? Especially, being a psychic medium and you're dealing with people who are not tapped into whatever gifts they might have. Um, is easy for me to go, no, it's this way because I can see, right? And Spirit showing me things and telling me things, and they don't want to believe it because their guilt or whatever emotion is in the way. And so I'm trying to, pound it into them like, no, 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 it's this, right? And I end up taking up too much space and I end up breaking their space. And I'm learning to not do that so much, right? But I'm also learning to pay attention to what causes me to move into that mode, right? If I find myself, if I meet a person, let me say this: if I meet a person who's doing the absolute most, trying to take up everybody's space, I push back, and I push back hard, right? Is that the right thing to do? Probably not, right? But it's kind of a defense mechanism. Is it healthy? Probably not. But that's typically what I end up doing. And when I push back and when I really think about it, I go, something about them disrupts my spirit to the point where I have to force them out of the entire space. Right. So I also have to look at that factor too. Right. And I want you guys to be aware of when you should be taking up space versus when you shouldn't. Don't downplay yourself. If you've excelled at something, yeah, share it, right? But share it with the right people, because some people, they want, who those people are who don't want you to shine, who don't want you to take up any space. You'll know who those people are because you'll tell them something that you did, and they'll be like, well, I did this. And it's like, boo, be grateful, be happy for me, right? Show me some support, right? You'll know who those people are, right? Pay attention to that. Know when to take up space. Know who you can take up space with, right? And exercise patience with, right? If your patience runs thin with somebody, that's a whole fucking problem. Just gonna put that there, okay? Especially if your patience runs thin quick, right? You'll find yourself doing the absolute most to take up space so that you can push them out, right? But we're all adults here. We don't need to try to bully somebody out of our space. We need to just simply speak up. There's a difference between taking up space, speaking up, and bullying, right? And the three can collide at any time. So I just want you guys to be mindful of that. I want you guys to be mindful that you can take up space. Just don't take up somebody else's space. Don't be stingy. Don't be greedy, right? That's not how this is supposed to work, if that makes sense. The other thing too is, sometimes we'll end up taking up space, or we'll end up taking up too much space, and we'll find ourselves apologizing, right? And you'll go, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. You were speaking. I'm sorry. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. And the thing is, if you find yourself trying to take up space while someone's speaking to you, do your best to practice self-control until the end, right? Let that person take up the space that they need in that moment. And then at the end, you acknowledge, right? Acknowledge them. Acknowledge what they've said to you, right? And then you go, and the next thing you're going to do is say, I understand, or, I can sort of understand what you mean. Let me give you an example of what I feel like you just said to me, and you can say what you need to say and take up that space, if that makes sense. That is another option. Okay. I just want you guys to know you have options. And I find myself, I attract a lot of people who want all the space, including mine. And that's a no. That will cause me to push you away with the absolute quickness. I'm not a fan. Not a fan. And as someone who's learning that they can't take up all the space, right? If they can't control that, like get some type of control on it, right? It's a no for me. That it's not gonna work, because then I'm gonna feel like, okay, you're only talking to me because you want to take up all my space, right? That's not fair. That's not fair to anybody, truthfully, but it's not fair. So you will find you have people like that around you, right? And for me, as I'm navigating this healing journey for myself, as I'm walking home to myself, I am I am learning that, I am whole ass attracting people who are the extreme that I'm working on, right? And by attracting people, I mean that's friends, relationships, you name it. Uh, and I'm not a fan, so I'd rather work on that for myself than to allow people to continue entering my life who want me to just vacate my own space so that they can have it. Not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that. But just please keep that in mind. Just please keep that in mind. And I hope this video makes sense for at least one of you, right? Learning that there are extremes to taking up space, but there's also the middle ground, and that's where we're trying to get to, right? Of course, we're human. We're always going to, sometimes we're going to sway to one end or the other, but I'd like to see us do our best to remain in the center, if that makes sense. I like this card. I like all the colors on these cards. Um, I know, random side note. But yeah, so that's that. That's that. I am going to. Okay, that was the this message from Spirit taking up space. Okay, now let's move into some news, because Spirit just told me to remind you, like let you guys know, not remind you, but let you guys know. Next month I will be hosting a live here on YouTube, and I'm going to be doing yes or no questions, and they're going to be $3 each. Okay, I will put links where you can send your $3. It's a yes or no question. Okay, that will happen in September. Um, I will, as we get closer to the dates, I will let you guys know, but that won't be happening in September. And it's only going to be yes or no questions, so I will not be explaining the yes or the no. If you want something deeper, that's a whole reading. So just make sure you keep that in mind. Get your yes and no questions ready. Okay. So I'm really excited about that. Really, really excited about that. Now, if you made it to the end of this video, let me know what was your favorite card. I'm curious. Let me know what your favorite card was. Uh, my favorite card, this one. It's also the card that's on the front of the box and the book. This is my favorite card. Um, I think there's another one in here. Nope, that is my favorite card. That is the Shaman card, just so you guys know. just so you guys know. But yeah, let me know what your favorite card is. Comment below. And also comment below how you um, balance taking up space when you are connecting with others versus how you connect with yourself. And I'm curious to know. That being said, stay hydrated. Make sure you're eating well, you're resting well, and you're being kind to yourself because you deserve it. And I wish you all the brightest of blessings. Bye.